No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's Monday the 24th of August. We are live across the United Kingdom. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
The Prime Minister stands with Ukraine. Andy Burnham is in Kyiv for Ukraine's Independence Day, where he's on the international stage for the first time.
To put it simply, Vladimir, I want you to know that we've got your back. You can count on me and you can count on us. You can count on the UK.
2 police officers killed by a wrong-way driver in Teesside are hailed as heroes while fears grow over a deadly TikTok joyriding craze. It's a similar accident in Ireland last week. Labour Minister Luke Pollard says the government is taking action.
The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads.
And British homes for British people. This morning, Reform UK will announce their plans to overhaul how social housing is allocated in Britain.
Can't escape them, can we? The Sussex's security battle. Will taxpayers foot the bill for Harry and Meghan and their children's protection when they return to Britain? We'll have the latest on that.
And the Greens' taser ban. The Green Party put forward a motion to take tasers and pepper spray away from the police and to scrap the Prevent counter-terrorism programme.
And a stark warning from the head of Britain's FBI that children are not safe on the internet, with 900 reports of child abuse online every single day.
And degree, then despair. Tax pressures and technology are being blamed for a graduate jobs drought, despite record numbers of young people going to university.
Another Monday, another Reform press conference.
Yes, like clockwork.
They really are. This time, social housing. It was council housing in my day. The priority saying that all council housing, that new build, will be for British people, British taxpayers, prioritising married couples, and they're saying that people who are foreign nationals will be kicked out of social housing within 3 months of Reform coming to power. That's quite a big...
It is a big undertaking.
Yeah.
There are some boroughs in London where 70-80% of social houses are headed by people who are not born in this country. And I think equally concerning the number of people in social housing who aren't working and so therefore are claiming benefits and living almost rent-free or very low rent to the state. So it does beg the question, what is social housing for? And after the war, we built 4, 5, 6 million social housing that went to young families, that helped people start families, helped people start on the kind of lower rung of jobs. That's not what it's being used for anymore.
No, and it's so I think Reform are tapping into a rich seam here. So we'll be there for that press conference with Richard Tice and who else was on with him? Lee Anderson. So it is, yeah. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much and good morning. The top stories. More than £250,000 has been raised for the families of 2 police officers who died when a car driving the wrong way on a dual carriageway crashed into their vehicle. 37-year-old PC Matthew Blades and 38-year-old PC Tom Clough died when a Volkswagen travelling the wrong way along the A66 near Middlesbrough collided with their marked police vehicle. 5 others were also killed in the crash. Andy Burnham is in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, for the first foreign visit since becoming UK Prime Minister. As well as chairing his first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, the Prime Minister is set to hand over blueprints so Ukraine can build its own long-range missiles. Elsewhere, Reform UK says it will prioritise British-born workers under 35 when allocating social housing if the party were to enter government. Deputy Leader Richard Tice will set out plans to build 50,000 affordable social housing homes a year in a news conference today, a policy which the party claims will require no new taxes or borrowing. And a review is being launched into the way business rates are calculated for pubs and hotels in England and Wales and could lead to a reform of the system. Those are your latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Tributes are continuing to pour in for the two brave police officers who were killed in the early hours of Saturday morning as they were involved in a horrific collision with a car which had been driven the wrong way by 5 teenagers who also lost their lives.
Well, PC Matthew Blades, who was 37, and PC Tom Clough, 38, died when a Volkswagen Passat travelling the wrong way along the A66 near Middlesbrough collided with their police vehicle. More than £250,000 has so far been raised for the families.
So the 5 young men in the car, they ranged between 16 and 23, were killed in the crash too, and a video has emerged of one of the teenagers' TikTok accounts which appears to show him involved in a similar car chase with the police months before the incident.
Well, this morning, the Labour Minister, Luke Pollard, spoke to GB News.
The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads.
Well, Tom Tugendhat is the Conservative MP for Tunbridge. He gave his thoughts too.
Let's be clear, this isn't some sort of random accident where people made an honest mistake. This is people who deliberately chose to recklessly endanger lives.
Well, TikTok has said it's monitoring material linked to the fatal A66 Teesside crash and will remove videos or accounts that breach its rules, including content that promotes or glorifies dangerous driving.
Well, let's talk to Marcus Beard, who is a social media expert. Marcus Beard, good morning to you. I'm totally unconvinced by those words from TikTok because we know just last week or just last month in Ireland, a very similar incident occurred involving 5 young men in a chase, all filmed for a TikTok video. All 5 of those young men were killed too, similar age to the lads who were killed at the weekend. So TikTok know what's going on and they're doing nothing about it.
As you say, there seems to be an issue with what they're saying and what they're doing. There seems to be a gap between the policy of what they have on their platforms, the glorification of crime, of violence and dangerous behaviour. It is against the rules of all of these platforms. They should not be allowing it. But the problem is that gap between what they say they should do and what actually happens. It often takes journalists, researchers like us to bring this content to them before it gets taken down. And content that glorifies crime and dangerous behavior is a pretty big problem on the platform. Now, I think for a long time, the harm that could cause was maybe a bit underestimated by a lot of the platforms. But now, with these horrific incidents, it's starting to not look like a one-off, not look like a coincidence, and the influence and the amplification that social media plays in encouraging this kind of behavior can't really be understated. It's really quite severe, and it's kind of baked into the platform. So even just this morning and yesterday, when you would look at news coverage of these terrible incidents, TikTok sometimes recommends what content you would want to watch after. The content it was recommending was the original footage, was some of this joyriding footage from months and years ago. So there's a policy problem there. They're not taking this stuff down too, but there's a design problem. Unfortunately, the elephant in the room is all of these platforms are financially incentivized to get as much engagement as clicks as possible. And so anything they do to make their platform kind of safer for people means taking away the lever they have, which is to push people to the most I say exciting, but I don't mean in a positive way, but the most kind of fringe content, which is crime, violence, and things that glorify that kind of behavior. So there's a moment now. So we need to see what happens with TikTok and Instagram and the other platforms that share this. Earlier this year, we saw a lot of horrible content on X, on Elon Musk's platform. Now, they did change the way that platform works. They changed what it could do. So We have seen evidence, even in the last year, that these platforms will change based on harm that is caused to people. But they need to move quickly. And how quickly can they do it? That's the real big question. They should be able to do this incredibly well. These platforms have lots of money. They have lots of people and a lot of expertise. But unfortunately, what we have seen in the past is that we end up bringing lots of examples to them of this content before they've even seen it. So yes, they take it down as soon as they see it, but are they seeing it soon enough? That's the real question.
And I suppose the other concern will be that if the trend of the moment isn't dangerous driving, if all those videos were taken down or somehow prevented from being uploaded in the first place, people who are thrill-seeking would move to some other kind of activity. And the reason that these platforms are so successful is just because they hack into human psychology. Teenage boys are hardwired to look for risk. The more of an audience they have, the more approval they can seek, the more risk they can take. That's just a normal, that's just normal psychology for teenage boys. Isn't it the platforms altogether, the fact that they're giving audience and approval, that is the problem here, rather than just specific activities which could, which the authorities will be playing whack-a-mole with if we're not careful.
Exactly, that's true. So there is no kind of specific trend that I think is affecting kind of ordinary teenagers. There is no reverse driving trend that has a hashtag and is getting loads of content that can be wiped out in one instance. It is a wider problem of the glorification of crime, which sits within a wider problem of this extreme fringe content. Now, we saw with the Facebook case last week, there is now potentially going to be legal restrictions on Facebook to instead of optimizing for engagement, views, and time spent on platform, to instead optimize for well-being. So instead of these platforms driving the most extreme content to keep eyeballs on it for the longest time possible, it will be based on time well spent. But that's an incredibly difficult problem to actually solve. How do we define what is time well spent on these platforms? So a good first step is to say that time spent watching these kinds of videos is not well spent, because that is encouraging this, horrific and dangerous behavior. But there is a big wider question of how can we enforce these platforms not to drive people into these extreme situations? And some of that is baked into the financial structure. So we're going to see how they respond to this, and we may see more regulation coming down the line about exactly how these work.
And just very briefly, just a cursory glance, and I'm no expert, Marcus, at surfing the internet. You could see boys in masks, in cars, turning up the volume, turning up the speed, and the destination didn't matter. It was all about an exhibition in audacity and showing off. That's the worry.
Well,
Exactly.
Marcus Beard, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Some wise words and some interesting concepts. The thing is, boys that age are absolutely hardwired to look for risk and danger, and that's good. We need them to be able to go to war, whatever it is, if necessary. But the problem is, the more peer pressure they have, the more they are willing to take silly risks that end in absolute tragedy.
And I say, the uncanny resemblance to the incident in Ireland just last week. 5 teenage boys, young boys, senselessly lose their lives behind the wheel of a car. Joyride. We used to call it joyriding, didn't we? And liking being chased by the police.
Absolutely. It's very, very tragic.
Still ahead.
Warm from home. £600,000 of taxpayer money has been used to pay heating bills for civil servants working from home.
Pay their own heating. Up next, find out which Labour voice has told our Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood if she's upsetting people in her own party by her tougher sounding words on immigration, and she's doing something right. Not many ministers are they? But let's give her something. But first, been so to some holiday sun. Here's the forecast of some top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It remains quite unsettled across northern and western parts of Europe. Some heavy rain across parts of Portugal and Spain in particular. Plenty of sunny spells across the Canaries on Tuesday. Temperatures around 30 Celsius. The risk of showers still for Portugal, parts of France, but Spain largely dry with sunshine. A few showers also stretching across into northern Italy. Hot in Rome, temperatures in the mid-30s. Plenty of sunshine and high temperatures across Greece as well, staying that way over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I remember it vividly, the first dogfight over Biggin Hill, over New Addington. And this particular morning, the war started. My mother had asked me to go and get her a pint of beer from she wasn't a drunkard or anything, but she liked to drink on a Sunday morning. So she said, oh, son, she said, go down and get me a bottle of beer, will you? I mean, all was quiet in the Western Front. So I said, yes, mum. So I'm going down the road now. I hadn't gone quarter of a mile, and all of a sudden there's this confusion, all this noise and that, zooming and banging. I thought, what on earth's that? And I looked up, and there they were, dogfighting over New Addington.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology, when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I have a real treat for you, because I have found women. Yes, and these women are badly behaved in Benidorm, and they've been here for, how long have you been here?
Since Tuesday. Yeah, just a week this time. Normally we do 2 weeks, but just a week this time.
And whereabouts in the UK are you from?
From Surrey.
Surrey. Manchester. Salford.
Doncaster.
Quite the mix, I would say. Are you getting ready to go into the Strip?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, why not? It's iconic.
We do culture first and then the Strip. That's the right way round, right?
If you say so. Will you be out on the Strip?
Most definitely, yet again.
And what's so attractive about it?
The Strip or the culture?
The Strip.
What am I allowed to say on TV?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 13 minutes to 10. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, the former Home Secretary Alan Johnson, that's the man I think should have been the Labour leader at some point, but how we are, he never was, is encouraging the current Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, to press ahead with migration reforms despite criticism from her own Labour backbenchers.
Well, her latest proposals to tighten migration rules have fuelled a backlash, with 80 Labour MPs signing a private letter urging the Prime Minister to pause the reforms.
Let's talk to David Spencer, who is Head of Crime and Justice at the Policy Exchange think tank. David, I would say this is wise advice from Alan Johnson. He was a Home Secretary himself, a very successful Home Secretary, because if there are squeals of protest on the Labour benches, then she must be doing something right.
Good morning. Well, this interview with Alan Johnson came as part of a collection of interviews which we've done here at Policy Exchange with almost every Home Secretary from the last 35 years. And it was interesting. One of the things that he said to me was the more that she listens to her backbenchers, the worse it'll be, because it's a very big issue talking about illegal immigration. It's a very big issue for the public. And I was talking to one of your viewers yesterday, Lucy, from South Yorkshire, and she was saying exactly this, that this is a major issue for the public. And certainly when I've talked to other Home Secretaries as well, immigration comes up time and again. And another Home Secretary actually said on a different issue, Sir Sajid Javid, he said that one of the things that ministers often fail to do is to actually recognise the trade-offs that need to be put in place when they're making decisions. And I think that's something that the current Home Secretary over this issue, over illegal immigration, needs to think about in relation to her own backbenchers.
What trade-offs do you think she might have to do?
Well, I think that's...
My heart sinks a bit, because doesn't that mean trade-off mean watering it down?
Well, I think that's the important question. What Sir Sajid was saying is that there are always trade-offs to be made. I suspect here the trade-off to be made is either you get the backing of the public, or you may well get the backing of a somewhat recalcitrant group of Labour backbenchers. And I think that may be the trade-off here rather than on policy. So certainly the advice that Alan Johnson had was very, very clear for the current Home Secretary. And what we have seen from this Home Secretary is that she is willing to front up on some difficult things. So we saw that when she was Lord Chancellor over the sentencing guidelines and sentencing council. The question will be whether she's willing to stump up on an even bigger issue for this government, which is illegal immigration.
Now, in your collection of interviews of these former Home Secretaries, which was absolutely fascinating, by the way, to see the common themes that the struggles that all of them faced, regardless of when or for which party they were in power. But one of the recurring themes was about what kind of levers the Home Secretary is able to pull, whether they need to use persuasion more than legislation, and particularly in relation to their relationship with the police. But I suppose the question is, if the Home Secretary doesn't have the backing of backbenchers and perhaps only has the nervous backing of his or her Prime Minister, what can they actually do? What change can they actually effect in this area of immigration, or are they totally reliant on the support of others?
Well, ultimately, Parliament is sovereign, and it will be the decision of members of Parliament as to whether to back these measures or not. But what becomes really clear when you go through this collection of interviews is that actually what really matters is senior ministers, and particularly in this case the Home Secretary, making the case relentlessly for what needs to be done and what needs to be done on behalf of the public. And where you see people, whether it's Home Secretaries or whether it's ministers in any portfolio, coming unstuck, is where they listen to noisy activist minority interest groups. And the reality is that the majority of the British public want to see firm action taken, particularly on illegal immigration. But we could strand that across crime and being tough on crime. It's very, very clear that that is what the public is looking for. And I think that one of the things that becomes clear through this collection of exclusive interviews is that Home Secretaries and Cabinet Ministers who are able to stand up for the wider public rather than small groups of interest groups, they're the ones that are most effective and successful.
Go on, tell us, which one was your favourite Home Secretary? You had a lot there.
Well,
give us your unvarnished view, Dave. We trust your opinion.
I met 14 of them. What I will say is that as someone who grew up and did A-level politics in the 80s and the 90s, meeting people who were sort of giants from that era, like Kenneth Clarke, Michael Howard, those sorts of people was a real honour, because the reality is that the experience they're able to bring to bear in public life is huge. And that was a real honour. That was a real honour.
That's a politician's answer, Dave.
Yeah.
Have you got any ambitions in that direction yourself?
I'm quite happy doing the research here and speaking to you.
Definitely a politician.
That's what I'm delighted to be doing this morning.
Yeah.
No, it's fascinating stuff, David. Really appreciate speaking to you this morning. Really interesting interview. That's David Spencer, Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange. One of the...
what I would have said, who is certainly the worst Conservative Home Secretary, probably has to be Theresa May.
Well, you say that, but she was the longest serving.
Yeah, but she got rid of 20,000 police officers. Yeah. She signed us up to, or was that when she was Prime Minister, to net zero without a debate in Parliament. And she brought us in that wretched Modern Slavery Act, which has been hijacked by the Human Rights Brigade.
That is also true. I mean, she was criticised widely at the time for creating this hostile environment to immigration. She certainly wanted to bring down immigration. Well, no, of course. And then she became Prime Minister, whereas usually the Home Secretary, that's a graveyard for politicians, isn't it? So.
And because she'd survived there so long, people thought she must be pretty damn good. But her record just unravelled, I'm afraid. But for a Conservative Home Secretary to say to the police, you don't need 20,000 police officers...
Yes.
We did
backfired.
Backfired horribly.
Well, still ahead, Reform UK will announce their plans to overhaul how social housing is allocated in Britain.
They're going to put Brits first. Have we heard that before? I think we have.
I think we have. I think it was Tory policy, but it never happened.
Exactly. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show. You're on GB News with Andrew and Miriam.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather. High pressure still in charge of our weather today. Plenty of dry weather and pleasant spells of sunshine as well. Bit of a fresh start in places this morning, some mist and fog patches, but they'll soon clear and then a fine day to come. The cloud will bubble up as we move through the day, particularly into the afternoon across eastern areas, perhaps thick enough for 1 or 2 showers, but the vast majority it will be dry and bright. A much sunnier day for western parts, particularly Northern Ireland, where it's quite cloudy over the weekend. Temperatures rising into the low 20s, 24, 25 Celsius possible. A little cooler in the east with that easterly breeze. As we look at the details for the evening time, fine end today across Scotland, plenty of sunny spells, temperatures still in the low 20s come 5-6 p.m. Plenty of sunshine as well for Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England. Still some cloud, but this will start to melt away as we move through the evening time. 1 or 2 light showers perhaps towards Lincolnshire and the Wash into East Anglia. A bit of an easterly breeze, just making it feel a little cooler here. And then perhaps an increasing chance of some showers moving in across the far south as we head through the latter part of the evening into the early hours. Some of this could turn heavy as it pushes towards the south coast. A bit of uncertainty how quickly this will push northwards. More cloud around overall means temperatures not quite as low tonight compared to the weekend, generally staying in double figures, some low cloud and fog to start the day. But on Tuesday, a bright start in the north, cloudy in the south, the increasing risk of some showers pushing northwards. These perhaps turning a little heavy and thundery later on. 1 or 2 showers starting to develop parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later. And a bit of an easterly breeze still means the east is cooler, but the west temperatures 24, 25, starting to feel more humid too.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M6 northbound is affected by an obstruction between junctions 2 and 3 in Birmingham East. The M6 northbound has a lane closure between junctions 4A and 5 in Coventry West. The M11 southbound has an incident at junction 14 in Girton. In Scotland, the M8 westbound is restricted between junctions 14 and 13 at Proven Road in Glasgow. And on the trains, Greater Anglia services are facing major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria, with further disruption between Tottenham Hale and London Liverpool Street, while cross-country services are delayed through Bristol Parkway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Monday the 24th of August. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the Prime Minister says Britain stands shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine. Andy Burnham is in Kiev for Ukraine's Independence Day, where the Prime Minister is on the international stage for the first time.
To put it simply, Vladimir, I want you to know that we've got your back. You can count on me and you can count on us. You can count on the UK.
Well, we've changed Prime Minister yet again, but the message to Ukraine absolutely the same. We are with you. That is despite increasing warnings from Russia over consequences for allowing British-built weapons to be fired into Russia itself.
Elsewhere, 2 police officers killed by a wrong-way driver in Teesside are hailed as heroes, while fears grow over a deadly TikTok joyriding craze. Labour Minister Luke Pollard says the government is taking action.
The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads.
Recognise this slogan? British homes for British people? This morning, Reform UK will announce its plans to overhaul how social housing is allocated in Britain. We'll hear from Reform's Deputy Leader Richard Tice in the next hour.
The role of the British government is to look after the British people, and we're also announcing today how we will build an extra 50,000 affordable homes every year over the next decade.
Elsewhere, the battle continues over the Sussex's security bill. Will taxpayers have to foot up the cash for Harry, Meghan and his children's protection when he returns to the UK, or will it be paid for privately? We'll have the latest.
Well, ultimately, it's up to independent experts to decide, based on the credible threat against Harry and Meghan, if indeed there is one, how much security to provide. But ultimately, what will British taxpayers think if, as one former Labour Home Secretary suggests, the security is increased?
And the Greens are thinking of a taser ban. The Green Party has put forward a motion to its party conference to remove tasers and paper spray from the police. Why would you do that? And to scrap the Prevent counter-terrorism programme.
And it's the annual weigh-in day at London Zoo. GB News will be there.
Yeah, this morning we are behind the scenes at London Zoo as keepers take part in one of the trickiest jobs of the year, weighing all the animals from the Humboldt penguins behind me to the giant giraffes. We'll have all the furry details. You won't want to miss it.
Well, the Green Green Party certainly are a source of amusement in British politics.
Yeah, the trouble is, though, a lot of people vote for them, sadly, because they think they're a good protest vote. They were seduced by Zach Polansky, the Green Party leader, who's, I think, unravelled somewhat. But this latest thing, the police not to have tasers and pepper spray.
I know. Defund the police, very 2022.
Yeah, just go into battle bare, naked. It's outrageous. And last week, they were banging on about not recognising the State of Israel.
I know, they seem to be concerned about everything apart from the environment, which is, of course, what they were set up. It's an interesting dynamic, though, with the Green Party. A lot of small C Conservative people who genuinely care about the environment, particularly their local area, tempted to vote Green because, for good reason, they want their local area to be looked after. But under the bonnet, the Green Party are a lot more red than green.
And they're obsessed by Gaza, obsessed by it. Tell us what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you. The top stories this morning. More than £250,000 has been raised for the families of two police officers who died when a car driving the wrong way on a dual carriageway crashed into their vehicle. 37-year-old PC Matthew Blades and 38-year-old PC Tom Clough died when a Volkswagen travelling the wrong way along the A66 near Middlesbrough collided with their marked police vehicle. PC Clough, a veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, has been described by his family as their hero. The crash also claimed the lives of 5 young men aged between 16 and 23. Social media companies have been told by the government to take down content that celebrates appalling driving following the fatal crash. Defence Minister Luke Pollard spoke to GB News.
It's right that the police have time to investigate what's happened, but I think there's steps that we can take immediately. The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads. It's already illegal to drive down the wrong side of the road in the United Kingdom, and we'll learn the lessons from the police investigation, but we want that content removed online. I think it should be for the social media companies who have often argued that they can police themselves. Well, prove it here. Turn off the algorithm that incentivises and shares this type of illegal content.
In other news, Andy Burnham is in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, for his first foreign visit since becoming Prime Minister. As well as chairing his first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, the Prime Minister is set to hand over blueprints so Ukraine can build its own long-range missiles. The visit comes on Ukraine's Independence Day and after Moscow last week warned of consequences over the use of British drones by Ukraine. Kyiv has recently stepped up long-range attacks on Moscow and other Russian regions, targeting oil refineries and warehouses of the country's largest oil retailer, Wildberries. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia continued to fire strikes at each other overnight. Elsewhere, Reform UK says it will prioritise British-born workers under 35 when allocating social housing if the party were to enter government. Deputy Leader Richard Tice will set out plans to build 50,000 affordable social homes a year. In a new news conference today, a policy which the party claims will require no new taxes or borrowing. Reform says on top of British-born workers, former military service personnel and married couples with children will also be prioritised. A Labour spokesperson called the plans unserious and unworkable and accused Reform of pushing gimmicks and division. Police say 2 young women aged 19 and 20 have been arrested on suspicion of causing a serious injury to a child in Rochdale. Officers had responded to a concern for the welfare of a child at Spotland Tops in Rochdale yesterday afternoon. The child had fallen from a first-floor window, according to reports. Emergency services attended and the child was taken to hospital in a critical condition. Elsewhere, a review is being launched into the way business rates are calculated for pubs and hotels in England and Wales and could lead to a reform of the system. The Treasury says business rates expert Jerry Sherder will lead the review into rate valuations and report back in March next year, with the government calling for the views of landlords, hoteliers and business owners to feed into the process. Last month, Andy Burnham announced a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, social clubs and live music venues in England to come into effect in April. Pub groups have argued they face disproportionately higher rates bills, but other businesses have called for a wider reform of the rate system. And the football with which Diego Maradona scored his famous Hand of God goal at the 1986 World Cup has sold at auction for £2.5 million. Maradona famously punched the ball past goalkeeper Peter Shilton in Argentina's 2-1 quarter-final win over England. And after the game, he told reporters it had been scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. Those are the latest headlines. More at 10:30.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Miriam Cates.
We certainly are. Now, the Prime Minister has arrived in Ukraine. This is his first overseas engagement since becoming Prime Minister. He got off the plane in a black T-shirt, which I thought was a rather odd look.
Well, you know, travelling clothes and all that. Well, he's going to chair his first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing alongside other world leaders to mark Ukraine's Independence Day. It's worth noting, as Andrew said, that he was very casually dressed. But then Zelensky's been wearing casual clothes.
I just think the British Prime Minister should have a jacket on. Right, if you're not going to wear a tie, but why not a jacket at least? He did, when he appeared alongside Zelensky, put on a jacket, but that is a very clear statement he's making there. I just don't really agree with it. I think it's fine if you're Mayor of Manchester. I don't think it's fine if you're Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Indeed. Well, to talk about the politics of this and not just the sartorial choices, we've got GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, here in the studio. Catherine, this is one area of policy that our long succession of frequently revolving prime ministers has not actually changed. They've all been very, very supportive of Ukraine. Andy Burnham saying to Volodymyr Zelensky that he will support him as long as it takes.
Yes, absolutely. Can I just start with the clothes? Because I know it is something that is really exercising many of our viewers. Yeah. Andy Burnham there in a polo shirt. I looked back. Keir Starmer, the previous Prime Minister, seen getting off the same train in July, dark blue, maybe black T-shirt with a black jacket. Rishi Sunak in a winter getting off with a big sort of parka coat, but with a white shirt. Boris Johnson, I only saw pictures of him getting off a plane. He did have a shirt on, but I think it is interesting
Boris Johnson would never have looked good in a T-shirt.
Possibly not. Well, we've seen him with his running shorts. But yes, but the serious message here is nothing has changed. Right. We've gone through Boris Johnson, who led Europe, really, didn't he? Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, now Andy Burnham. Nothing has changed with our support of Ukraine, and we are there for them. However, what has changed is that we are getting bolder and bolder in what we are prepared to do to support Ukraine in terms of weapons that are actually being used on attacks into Russia itself. It's less than 2 years since I was in Washington with Keir Starmer, where they were trying to get the then US President Joe Biden to give permission for Ukraine to use our British-built Storm Shadow missiles potentially into Russia. There was a lot of concern about it. We've been doing that for some time. In the last week or so, UK-made drones were used on attacks into Russia, and Russia have accused us of escalating the war. They've said London's actions will inevitably carry consequences. Now, today's announcement is that we are giving the blueprints for the UK components to these French-made Scalp, the equivalent of Storm Shadow missiles, so that Ukraine can make these themselves. So,
and these missiles can go for 150 miles deep into Russian territory. So
we are now repeatedly involved in terms of UK weapons into Russia. Russia has withdrawn their ambassador from the UK. They're talking pretty tough at the moment. The assumption is that there will be no action, and let's hope that's right.
Yeah, fascinating. All right, Catherine, that's Catherine Forster, our chief political correspondent.
Thank you, Catherine. Well, former Defence Secretary Sir Liam Fox can join us now. Sir Liam, thank you so much for joining us on Britain's Newsroom. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, this is quite a significant departure, as Catherine has just said. The transfer of technology, and not just the donation of weapons, could potentially help the Ukrainians quite substantially, but it also risks escalating tensions with Russia. What do you think the outcomes will be?
I think that what's happening is that, as you would expect from a bully like Putin, they're trying to dissuade Ukraine's allies from giving Ukraine the vital support that they require to protect their people and to stop the Russian aggression. When we look at the sort of attack that we saw at the weekend, attacking a shopping mall, not in one but a double attack, in other words, designed to kill civilians and then kill the emergency workers who came to their help, it was a particularly vile crime. We've been giving these weapons actually to Ukraine, as you said, since 2023. Now, this is an important sign that the Western allies trust Ukraine to use them in the way that they've been using them up till now. They've had them since 2023, but they're going to be allowed to make them for themselves. It's as much a symbolic gesture at this time of the meeting of the coalition of the willing, as they're called, Western allies who come to the help of Ukraine. It will also, I think, be an attempt to push the Americans into giving further help to the Ukrainians as only really they can.
And Russia has already warned, haven't they, Sir Liam, of dark consequences for Britain if we continue to give this sort of aid. But are we not already experiencing those consequences? Endless cyber attacks, and many more probably that we don't even know about.
We've been having this for a while. You remember the poisoning in Salisbury. Russia's been willing to use its foreign security services to poison its own citizens in places like the United Kingdom, even poisoning our citizens. In the UK, as you say, we are under pretty much perpetual cyber attack from Russia and its allies and its criminal gangs. And of course, the poor people of Ukraine have been subjected to the most horrendous attacks, some of them probably war crimes. And this is a pathological vanity war by Putin. And he will, of course, try to do everything he can to dissuade the international law-abiding community to abandon Ukraine. And it's to the tremendous credit of a whole range of British Prime Ministers since Boris Johnson, of both parties, and even more the British public, having been rock solid in their support for the people of Ukraine, because unlike Putin, the people in Britain can tell the difference between right and wrong.
Well, of course, and there is a clear moral element to this war. There is an aggressor and a victim. That is absolutely true. But it's also the case that in expending billions of dollars on aid and weapons, I mean, some estimates about $400 billion now of aid from the West to the Ukraine, but not being willing to put boots on the ground and join the war properly, has actually prolonged this conflict. It's turned it into a stalemate. We've seen huge loss of life, the total decimation of the Ukrainian economy. How long will this have to go on for before in the West we decide actually we can't fund this war? Can Ukraine still win? Is that a realistic possibility?
The important thing is that Russia doesn't win. Russia, remember, attacked Ukraine.
But if we really believed that, we would put boots on the ground.
No, boots on the ground are not the answer to this. It's been very clear that the massive deployment of Ukrainian troops and the massive deployment of Russian troops is not making the difference in this conflict. They have fought themselves to a standstill with massive changes in technology. And you say there's a moral component to this. This is an absolutely clear example of where we have to draw a red line. Because if we give ground on Ukraine were to be defeated by Russia in what has been a bloodthirsty and, as I said, pathological vanity project by Putin, where do they stop? Lithuania, Estonia, and where else? This is a point where we have to actually stand up for what we believe in, and I think it's wonderful the United Kingdom has given a lead on this and shown that we are willing to defend our values. But the real question here is, how long can Russia continue to do this? We've actually seen not just petrol queues building up in Russia with shortages, not just a rise in inflation, not just problems in their economy as they've had to deploy more and more young people onto this futile battlefield, but we've seen Russia run down its sovereign wealth fund by something like 80%. And so the oligarchs are now looking at Putin and saying, is this man actually destroying the country's future wealth for a project that has achieved nothing militarily, that has caused hundreds of thousands of casualties and deaths amongst Russians, which is causing us economic hardship and which can never be won. It's vital that we do not allow Russia to win on this. It's absolutely vital that we give Ukraine what they need and to give the Ukraine the means by which they can build what they require to defend themselves and their people. For me, this is an absolute black and white conflict.
All right, Cillian, that's the former Defence Secretary, Cillian Fox. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liam.
My worry always is, of course, is that voter fatigue will kick in. People will get Ukraine fatigue.
Yeah, I mean, it still is
a lot more money for
policy,
Ukraine.
But I think the problem is, I mean, Cillian Fox talking about it being a black and white issue, but we guaranteed the Ukrainians, along with the Americans, back in 1994, when they gave up their nuclear weapons, that we would protect them. And when Russia invaded Crimea in 2014, we didn't do anything.
That's right.
So, and
nothing at all.
That emboldened Putin. That allowed him to think, well, actually, if I encroach a little bit more on their territory, no one will do anything. And yeah, of course, it's a great thing that we're supporting the Ukrainians.
And it was not long after he went into Ukraine in 2014 that Parliament had voted down an attempt for Britain to back military conflict against Syria, which, remember, was using chemical weapons on children.
Yep, that's right. So, it's all very well to say we support Ukraine, but if we really did believe this was an existential war that could only have one victor, we would go all in. But, of course, we're not going to go all in because Russia's a nuclear power. We're in NATO.
Also, there'd be no public support for
there would be no public support for it.
Boots on the ground.
But in a way, just giving more and more aid is prolonging the conflict.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I don't think it is black and white at all.
Now, time for a Great British giveaway. It's the biggest of the year. Yes, it is. Your chance to win a new... Miriam gets so envious of this.
Gosh.
A 4-berth motorhome. It's not the one which was anything to do with Nicola Sturgeon, just in case you're wondering. Worth £75,000. No, because that one was £102,000.
It's appreciation.
This is worth £75,000 plus... You get £35,000 tax-free cash to spend how you like it. How about that? Here's how you do it.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far. It's your chance to win a whopping £110,000 prize package that comes in 2 terrific parts. You'll be able to explore Great Britain and beyond in this, your very own motorhome. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. It comfortably sleeps 4 with spacious lounge area for entertaining and fully fitted kitchen and bathroom. Plus, you can drive it on your standard driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Make sure you don't miss out on this £110,000 prize package.
For a chance to win a motorhome and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. We may call the winner live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up next, the Green Party have put forward a motion to take tasers and pepper spray away from the police and to cut back on prison funding. Do they want to defund the police? Well, we'll be going through that and more with the former Health Minister, Ben Bradshaw, and PR specialist and speaker, Lawrence Rosenberg. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing
is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 25 minutes past 10. You're with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates, and we're joined by a fantastic panel.
We are.
Former Cabinet Minister Ben Bradshaw and Lawrence Rosenberg, who's a PR specialist and commentator in the studio.
Were you on The Apprentice?
I was on The Apprentice for my sins.
Poor you. Poor you. Now,
I'm here now.
Ben, I know you were in the Cabinet, but you were a health minister initially. It's a story on the front page of the Telegraph. I'm at the age where this perplexes me. 1,500 men in England are to be offered prostate cancer screening. That's it. Because they're going to offer it to screen men with a gene variant and a family history of related cancers. Prostate cancer is rapidly becoming one of the biggest killers of men. They need to do more, don't they?
Well, I'm sure like you get your annual health check with the GP, so you get the blood test and everything. I think the issue here, and I'm not an expert on the latest, but this has been rumbling on for some time, is that basically the medical experts have concluded that the costs and dangers of excess treatment for false positives for men, so men who have their prostate out for no reason, is actually in balance worse than than the benefits you get from more widespread screening. These are difficult decisions that we have to make on all medicines and their use in this country. And I think to be fair, the experts have probably come to the right decision, but of course there are going to be people who are unhappy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I say to men, ask your doctor. Because a lot of men we know are squeamish about
absolutely. Men are much less likely to go to the doctor if they've got a problem than women, and that's a big problem for prevention. So you can get everyone, certainly my age, 50 and above, I think now can get an annual health check.
Yeah,
you still have to ask for it in some GPs, which is bad.
You do.
You know, they should really, I think, contact everyone automatically.
Yeah, my doctor said, "Oh, you only need your prostate checked every 4 years." I said, "Forget it, doctor. I want it checked now. I'm here. do it.
But the problem is, Lawrence, that with a simple blood test, so there are some diseases for which there are pretty easy screening tests that you can take that don't give many false positives. But the problem with the prostate blood test is it does give a lot of false positives. That then leads to costs following up and worry for the patient. Do we not just have to accept that in a publicly funded health service, there are limits, and every single different intervention has to be looked at on a cost basis, even if that doesn't seem very compassionate sometimes?
No, absolutely. I think it's always a difficult one when you're talking about health because it's such an emotive subject for people, and there's always more that you can do, but in a publicly funded health system, like you said, there's only so much you can do, and there's always more that could be done. I mean, we could all go for a health screening every single week, but we don't have the capacity to do that. So I think when it comes to issues like this, there are experts that spend their entire lives looking at subjects like this. And for me, as a layperson from the outside, to say, oh, we should be doing more is very easy to do. But then when there's stories like this of looking at people with gene variants that it actually is needed for, I think that's where it becomes quite pertinent to actually look at the data and start working on these.
And Ben, there's also an impact on what age you're diagnosed. So, of course, you don't want this disease when you're younger, but actually an enormous number of older men over 75, 80, have prostate cancer. It grows incredibly slowly, and they're highly unlikely to die of it. It's not actually something to worry about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So, yes, there isn't really a catch-all answer to this, I suppose. Shall we move on? Graduates face the worst job market on record. So we're hearing in the Telegraph, Lawrence, that although record numbers of people are going to university, the outcomes of at the other end are not looking particularly favourable.
No, and I think this is a perfect storm that's kind of hitting this generation that we've never really seen before. So you've obviously got, on one end, it's more expensive to hire people, for the most part and in most cases. You've got over 1 million people, young people, who are now NEET, which is not in education, employment or training. And at the same time, we now got the worries about AI. So are we bringing people on? And AI is going to be able to automate a lot of the jobs. I also think on the lower end of the market, when you've got the NICS increases that we've seen under this Labour government, what I think makes it quite difficult is, I see it in PR, my background is PR, you bring people on and functionally when they start, you're pretty much having to put everything on a plate, you invest the training, and then as soon as you get them ready where they can start working independently, they leave for a better paying job. So this is the difficulty with entry-level roles. So from my experience, what I'm seeing more and more is actually people are looking to bring people on who already have experience, but how do you get the job without the experience? It's a very difficult one, and I think we need to be looking more, when it comes to graduates, at degrees and degree apprenticeships that actually have outcomes rather than feel-good and uni experience.
It was your mate Robert Reeves, wasn't it? Your mate Robert Reeves and her budgets and her taxes on national insurance.
They certainly had an impact, but, if you wanted to increase the investment in the health service, which we promised to do in the election, you had to raise the money somewhere, and that was one of the it was not a manifesto.
Was that the right place to do it?
Well, I think you can debate that, but we've had quite clear manifesto commitments. I mean, the economy is growing faster now than any other economy in the G7.
Not per capita, but we could have that debate.
An increase in productivity for the first time since the global financial crisis in 2008. I mean, these figures don't go back very far. I think we have to put...
No, and actually, the number of NEETs has been rising since 2018, probably for 10 years with a slight blip around COVID.
I don't know when you left university, Andrew, but I left university in 1982. It was a pretty dismal...
Andrew did an apprenticeship. He was ahead of his time.
I didn't go to university.
Oh, well, there you go. It was a pretty dismal jobs market, I can tell you, for a graduate back then in the first actual recession. So I think, there's churn going on because of AI and technological jobs. I'm optimistic, though, that in the long run, this will come out in the wash. I mean, when we've had these advances in technology before, there's been churn for a short period of time, but the jobs change.
That's also true historically, but I think there are some other factors that are going on here. One is how difficult it is for young people to get experience because of health and safety laws and things like that. Fewer and fewer people are taking on Saturday boys and girls, for example. But also immigration. The Centre for Social Justice crunched the numbers a couple of months ago and found that since 2020, for every one young Brit taken on into work, so 16 to 24-year-olds, 27 non-EU migrants gained jobs. So in some ways you could argue that actually British young people are being squeezed out of the job market by people getting work visas.
Well, work visas have been going down significantly in the last couple of years. Immigration generally has been going down significantly. But I would question what fields those jobs are in, whether those are in fields.
No, but it's just looking at the overall
British
picture.
people, for example, agriculture, aren't prepared to go and pick the.
But still, 27 to 1.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's huge, and I think we need to change the benefit system to encourage more of our young people to do those sorts of jobs, to get a foot on the jobs ladder.
Yeah,
to get off.
I would say, actually, I do think that's so important, because I was having this discussion not yesterday with my wife, and I was saying that the jobs that we were doing, even, you know, I'm 29 now, 10 years ago, jobs in Tesco, high street jobs, you know, she worked in TK Maxx and various places like that. Those jobs don't exist anymore. Yeah. We're bringing in people on visas from abroad to do the jobs that actually kids should be doing. You know, Saturday and Sunday jobs. Yes, it's less productive for TK Maxx. They don't have set workers who are probably never going to leave because they can't. But also, it's just that foothold into the workplace, building a CV, getting that first job, you know, getting some money out of it and seeing the freedom that, you know, employment gives you. I think it's so important. We've really lost that, and those stats are spot on.
Well, Lawrence, Ben, fantastic
You're
discussion.
going to be back because we've got a Reform press conference, which we'd like your views on. They're talking about the... have you heard this before? Social housing for British people. Remember Gordon Brown's British Jobs for British Workers? Has a ring to it, doesn't it?
Well, we've got lots more coming up, but first of all, your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you. The top stories. More than £250,000 has been raised for the families of 2 police officers who died when a car driving the wrong way on a dual carriageway crashed into their vehicle. 37-year-old PC Matthew Blades and 38-year-old PC Tom Clough died when a Volkswagen travelling the wrong way along the A66 near Middlesbrough collided with their marked police vehicle. 5 others were also killed in the crash. Andy Burnham is in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, for his first foreign visit since becoming Prime Minister. As well as chairing his first meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, the Prime Minister set to hand over blueprints so Ukraine can build its own long-range missiles. Reform UK says it will prioritise British-born workers under 35 when allocating social housing if the party were to enter government. Deputy Leader Richard Tice will set out plans to build 50,000 affordable social homes a year in a news conference today, a policy which the party claims will require no new taxes or borrowing. And a review is being launched into the way business rates are calculated for pubs and hotels in England and Wales and could lead to a reform of the system. Those are the headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, coming up next, it's weigh-in day at London Zoo. They're going to keep an eye on the animals' health. GB News is there. So in solidarity with the animals, we're introducing the very first Britain's Newsroom presenter weigh-in. Here we go. Andrew, I made sure to have the equipment with you. We've got the scales ready for Andrew's weigh-in. Andrew, are you brave enough to do this in public? Do you weigh more than a penguin? Quite a lot more than a penguin, Andrew.
They don't work.
Oh, right, OK, well, there we go. Well, we will reveal all after the break.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather. High pressure still in charge of our weather today. Plenty of dry weather and pleasant spells of sunshine as well. Bit of a fresh start in places this morning, some mist and fog patches, but they'll soon clear and then a fine day to come. The cloud will bubble up as we move through the day, particularly into the afternoon across eastern areas, perhaps thick enough for 1 or 2 showers, but the vast majority it will be dry and bright. A much sunnier day for western parts, particularly Northern Ireland, where it's quite cloudy over the weekend. Temperatures rising into the low 20s, 24, 25 Celsius possible. A little cooler in the east with that easterly breeze. As we look at the details for the evening time, fine end today across Scotland, plenty of sunny spells, temperatures still in the low 20s come 5-6 p.m. Plenty of sunshine as well for Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England. Still some cloud, but this will start to melt away as we move through the evening time. 1 or 2 light showers perhaps towards the Lincolnshire and the Wash into East Anglia. A bit of an easterly breeze, just making it feel a little cooler here. And then perhaps an increasing chance of some showers moving in across the far south as we head through the latter part of the evening into the early hours. Some of this could turn heavy as it pushes towards the south coast. A bit of uncertainty how quickly this will push northwards. More cloud around overall means temperatures not quite as low tonight compared to the weekend, generally staying in double figures, some low cloud and fog to start the day. But on Tuesday, a bright start in the north, cloudy in the south, the increasing risk of some showers pushing northwards. These perhaps turning a little heavy and thundery later on. 1 or 2 showers starting to develop parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later. And a bit of an easterly breeze still means the east is cooler, but the west temperatures 24, 25, starting to feel more humid too.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M25 clockwise is queuing between junctions 5 and 6 in Sevenoaks. The M11 southbound has an incident at junction 14 in Girton. The M6 southbound has a stranded vehicle between junctions 19 and 18 in Middlewich, and a lane closure is also in place there. In Scotland, the M77 northbound has a queue at junction 1 on the slip road off in Worsley West. And on the trains, Greater Anglia has major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria, and disruption between Tottenham Hale and London Liverpool Street. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 22 minutes to 11. It turns out Andrew was as light as a feather. We need to feed him up before a gust of wind blows. Well, it's lucky because I've got a whole packet of biscuits in my bag.
I am below 11 stone.
Wow.
Yeah.
You probably weigh less than me. I'm glad I didn't get on scales.
I can't tell you what 72 kilos is in stone.
Well, 70 is 11.
Right. So I've just over 11 stone, and I'm now down to 67 kilos.
Good. Well, you must have been on the penguin diet.
I've been working out in the gym.
Very good, very healthy. Well, let's see if the penguins, lion cubs and camels have also been working out in the gym. They're just some of the animals who've had their vital statistics recorded at London Zoo's annual weigh-in event.
Today, over 10,000 animals and almost 400 species would be brought to the weigh-in scales to ensure all are developing normally and maintaining a healthy weight. Good luck with the giraffe.
That's some scales, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a rhino.
And how are they going to get the tigers on there? Anyway, GB News reporter Sophie Wenzer is there. Sophie, beware the lions. Sophia, beware the lions.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I will be. But we're actually here at the penguins today. So we're here at London Zoo in Regent's Park, where keepers are taking part in one of the strangest jobs of their calendar. They're weighing every animal in the whole park, from the Humboldt penguins behind me, weighing about 4 kilograms, down to the tiny Darwin frogs, which weigh about under 2 grams. So it's called the annual weigh-in, and it takes keepers several days to get through around 400 species here. Those measurements are then added to a database which is shared with around 800 zoos and organisations around the world. And so the information gathered here in London today will be used to go towards painting a much wider picture of endangered species around the globe. And someone who can tell us a little bit more about that is the head zookeeper at London Zoo, Daniel Simmons. Thank you for speaking with us today. Now, I believe the Humboldt penguins are creatures of habit. How does that help when you are trying to weigh them?
It really helps. So having that slight habit of getting them used to lining up to be weighed in return for some fish is really, really useful. And it's testament to the keepers because they do it so often. We don't actually just weigh the animals today. We do it almost every single day of the year. The penguins know what's coming because the keeper comes with the fish and then they'll start quite literally lining up to be weighed. And it helps us because we've got over 70 penguins here. So it's quite a lot of work, quite chaotic at first, but actually it is organised chaos, and we do manage to get the weights of every single bird when we decide we're going to weigh them all.
Wonderful, and we have been watching that here this morning and it's been great. Now, I believe it's the 200th anniversary of the Zoological Society, and I think you've had some royal visitors, have you, over the past month? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we did. We were absolutely honoured to have Their Majesties, both the King and the Queen, were indeed standing literally right behind where we're standing now, doing, in fact, a health check with one of our penguins and one of our vets, which is really good because it paid testament to the really important veterinary work that takes place here every single day at the zoo, and also reminds us of the important conservation work that we do as an organisation and that we collaborate with other organisations. And obviously, we're lucky that the King has a passionate interest in the environment and in animals, and is indeed our patron. So it's a really good full circle of conservation and support from some really, really important people in the country.
That's amazing, thank you. And is there anything in the past where it's ever surprised you? Have there ever been any animals that are vastly overweight, or is it pretty standard?
We always know, so part of looking after animals well means knowing how much they should weigh and therefore making sure they stay within a decent weight range. So the reality is we don't really ever get surprised. We might sometimes have a pregnant animal that we weren't expecting to be pregnant, and as well as looking perhaps a little bit larger, it's obviously also a bit heavier, but in most cases also we know if an animal's about to get pregnant, so there are no real surprises, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for speaking with us. So you've heard it. It may seem like a cute and cuddly photo opportunity, but it is so much more than that. For the zookeepers here at London Zoo, knowing the numbers means knowing the animals.
Sophia, thank you so much for that report.
Well, do you know, I've got two great memories of London. I went to a very, very nice 50th birthday party there one evening.
One of the animals?
And no, you can see some of the animals. But when I was a child, my parents took me to London Zoo with my dad's brother and his family. They lived in London. They lived in Manor Park in East London. And I will never forget the total abject humiliation of when the nanny goat butted me from behind and sent me flying. And I mean flying.
Oh, dear.
It was humiliating.
I can imagine.
And, of course, you wanted to cry, but you didn't because you wanted to be brave.
Yeah, absolutely.
But actually, it was humiliating. Yeah, just as well there were no video cameras.
Yes, that's right. You would have been a viral sensation.
Immortalised. Yeah.
I do like zoos, but they are so expensive. And especially with small children. I mean, those penguins are so small, aren't they? But
if you're listening on the radio, we're watching the penguins going in for a nice dip in the water because it's still quite warm out there.
But for a family of 5, I mean, it's well over £100 to get in.
Yeah.
And then certainly when my children were smaller, they just wanted to play on the swings on the side, and you think, well, you can do that for free in the park.
No, they see the monkeys and the penguins, then they're done.
But it is incredible. I mean, you can understand why they're expensive because to look after the animals, the level of care that they need and monitoring and things like that.
And of course, there's always the do-gooder brigade saying, close them down, it's cruelty. Well, those ducks and penguins look very happy to me.
They do, indeed. I'm not sure the ducks are forced to stay there, but...
Yeah,
I mean,
or whatever they are.
No, well, I'll tell you the cheap way of seeing animals is to go to Pets at Home. We call that the free zoo in our house.
What's Pets at Home?
Oh, it's a pet shop, but there are always rabbits and chinchillas, things like that on display. And so toddlers think that they're being taken for a great day out, but it's obviously free.
Very nice.
There you go, that's my top tip, so parenting tip for the day.
Penguins are now diving in the water, having a very nice swim. We haven't seen them being eaten. I wonder if they were starved before they were put on the scales.
Being eaten? Oh, no, you mean eating?
Not having their food.
I hope that they're not eaten in the zoo.
They're fed fish.
Could be a speciality on the menu in London.
What? Grilled penguin?
Are we being told to move on?
I think we are. Up next, we're going to have the latest on that dreadful couple, you know what I mean? Harry and Meghan, and their battle for taxpayer-funded security. Pay your own security.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It remains quite unsettled across northern and western parts of Europe. Some heavy rain across parts of Portugal and Spain in particular. Plenty of sunny spells across the Canaries on Tuesday. Temperatures around 30 Celsius. The risk of showers still for Portugal, parts of France, but Spain largely dry with sunshine. A few showers also stretching across into northern Italy. Hot in Rome, temperatures in the mid-30s. Plenty of sunshine and high temperatures across Greece as well, staying that way over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I mean, are they I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right, there are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss.
Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking it.
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed to them. Whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect that. Just take us to Paris.
The People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm thrilled to say now I'm joined by another World War II veteran.
In my judgment, the Mosquito was a better aircraft because it's got 2 Spitfire engines.
And you flew it all over Europe. You told me that you had a particularly memorable flight near Berlin. What happened there?
A shell came up underneath, it lifted up the aircraft and it interfered for a brief period with the fuel supply. I didn't know. All I knew was I'd got the propellers were windmilling around and we hadn't any power. And eventually the power came on again and I leaned across to Doug, my navigator. He was a Canadian, a wonderful bloke. And I said to him, you weren't frightened, were you, Doug? And he said, no, I wasn't frightened, I was bloody terrified.
GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom, and it's 11 minutes to 11.
Harry and Meghan, well, we all know now they're coming back, don't we? We're not quite sure where they're going to be, but there is now the growing question over who will foot the bill, if there is one, for their security.
Well, as it stands, the Sussexes may be required to fund their own private security. Otherwise, it could cost the taxpayer over £5 million a year.
Prince Harry has repeatedly contacted the Home Secretary, that's Shabana Mahmood, to discuss his concerns. The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has said their security is a private matter. And, of course, we know in America they had to pay for their own security. The man who knows everything about this, is our very own TV News royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. David Blunkett has suggested, a former Labour Home Secretary, that perhaps the taxpayer should make some contribution to their costs.
Quite possibly, yes. So Lord Blunkett is basically saying there's 3 levels of security you could possibly get. There's a full-blown bells and whistles security with police outriders, a backup car, at least 3 protection officers per principal. That's a member of the royal family speak. Or the medium ground, which is what David Blunkett is suggesting, where you've got a police officer in the car with them, but no backup car, and then the kind of 3rd level as well, which is even less than that. Let's deal with the facts. What we know is that Harry and Meghan are coming back. We know that what's called a risk management board has been conducted for the first time since 2019 to assess the level of threat, an independent assessment of a level of threat against Harry and Meghan, if indeed there is anything credible. Those findings have been given to RAVEC, that's the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, that's the Home Office Committee made up of police, security officials, intelligence officials, the royal household and the Home Office as well. And they will decide, based on that evidence and that evidence alone, that whether or not Harry and Meghan are entitled to taxpayer-funded police protection. Now, a lot of GB News viewers and listeners have been asking questions quite rightly and quite legitimately over the last week. Well, why on earth should we have to fund non-working members of the royal family's security. Why can't Harry provide it himself? So Harry and Meghan pay for their own private security in the United States. They have travelled with them to the UK on previous occasions since Megxit. The problem that they've got with that is that those private American security officials cannot carry firearms, and crucially, they do not have access to MI5 and MI6 secret intelligence. So if there is a credible threat against them, they're not going to know about it until perhaps last minute. On the other hand, if there was a genuine threat and the security services had seen that there is a credible threat against Harry and Meghan, like there is with any member of the public, then the police do come and try and protect them. So it's a really tricky situation because it kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Clearly, there's going to be a huge public outcry for taxpayers. They're going to have to fund this. But on the other hand, he is still the king's son. He's fifth in line to the throne. He's made some pretty catastrophic errors when it comes to kind of cutting off ties with his family. He would say it's his truth, but that's, open to interpretation. But at the moment, we've got this stalemate. Until Rabeck makes a decision, we don't know.
But we also know he's got millions because we know he's keeping his house in Montecito in California worth millions of pounds. I think I read somewhere 10 or 11 million pounds. The £6 million property in Portugal, Cameron, he's acquiring a property here to live in, whether he rents or buys it, and the children will be going to expensive private schools, which will be £50,000, £60,000. So there's plenty of money for him to pay for his own security.
There is plenty of money. He has offered to pay for his own security. In fact, he took that to court, and a High Court judge ruled that he is not allowed to pay for Metropolitan Police protection because it sets a dangerous precedent that any rich person with enough money can effectively hire the Metropolitan Police, and that is not the role of the police. They are not private bodyguards. So that's what a judge has ruled. Unless the law changes or another Supreme Court judge, for example, overrules the High Court judge, Harry, even if he is the richest man in the world, would not be allowed to pay for his own police protection, and that's the problem.
We've got a minute left. Very quickly, what do you think is going to happen? They move back here, there's a flurry of media activity, then everybody loses interest, or are we going to see this kind of constant news cycle all the time?
Do you know, I mean, for the sake of my levels of energy, I really hope it's not the latter. So let's see. I think, look, I mean, Harry certainly, I know, has a week of engagements plans, as he has done actually for a number of months now in mid-September. Clearly, the Prince and Princess of Wales and members of the royal family, including King Queen, will continue with their own engagements. Ideally, there's a bit of a happy medium where we don't set up these two rival courts and they can just kind of live in harmony. I think at the end of the day, the public are very much on the side of the working members of the royal family, if you go by the opinion polls. So let's see how well Harry and Meghan's experiment goes.
Indeed. Well, Cameron, thank you as always for that. Home Office spokesman said the UK government's protective security system is rigorous and proportionate. It's our long-standing policy not to provide detailed information on these arrangements.
Now stay tuned because any moment now Reform UK is going to set up their plans to overhaul social housing in Britain. You won't want to miss it. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show, GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather. High pressure still in charge of our weather today. Plenty of dry weather and pleasant spells of sunshine as well. Bit of a fresh start in places this morning, some mist and fog patches, but they'll soon clear and then a fine day to come. The cloud will bubble up as we move through the day, particularly into the afternoon across eastern areas, perhaps thick enough for one or two showers, but the vast majority it will be dry and bright. A much sunnier day for western parts, particularly Northern Ireland, where it's quite cloudy over the weekend. Temperatures rising into the low 20s, 24, 25 Celsius possible. A little cooler in the east with that easterly breeze. As we look at the details for the evening time, fine end today across Scotland, plenty of sunny spells, temperatures still in the low 20s come 5-6 p.m. Plenty of sunshine as well for Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England. Still some cloud, but this will start to melt away as we move through the evening time. One or two light showers perhaps towards Lincolnshire and the Wash into East Anglia. A bit of an easterly breeze, just making it feel a little cooler here. And then perhaps an increasing chance of some showers moving in across the far south as we head through the latter part of the evening into the early hours. Some of this could turn heavy as it pushes towards the south coast. A bit of uncertainty how quickly this will push northwards. More cloud around overall means temperatures not quite as low tonight compared to the weekend, generally staying in double figures, some low cloud and fog to start the day. But on Tuesday, a bright start in the north, cloudy in the south, the increasing risk of some showers pushing northwards. These perhaps turning a little heavy and thundery later on. 1 or 2 showers starting to develop parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later. And a bit of an easterly breeze still means the east is cooler, but the west temperatures 24, 25, starting to feel more humid too.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's brand new and it's the big one. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could win this brand new 4-berth motorhome. But that's just the beginning, as we'll also give you a whopping £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend, save, or just to use to enjoy adventures in your new motorhome.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's 11 o'clock on Monday, the 24th of August. We're live across the United Kingdom. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Any moment now, the Reform UK Party are going to set out their plan to overhaul social housing in Britain. Richard Tice spoke to GB News earlier.
The role of the British government is to look after the British people, and we're also announcing today how we will build an extra 50,000 affordable homes every year over the next decade.
And the Prime Minister backing Ukraine. Andy Burnham is in Kiev for Ukraine's Independence Day. He's on the international stage for the first time since entering Downing Street.
To put it simply, Vladimir, I want you to know that we've got your back. You can count on me and you can count on us. You can count on the UK.
Elsewhere, 2 police officers killed by a wrong-way driver in Teesside are hailed as heroes, while fears grow over a deadly TikTok joyriding craze. The Labour Minister Luke Pollard says the government is taking action.
The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads.
And the Sussex security battle, will taxpayers be paying the bill for Harry and Meghan and their children's protection when they finally pitch up in the UK?
And the Greens are floating a taser ban. The Green Party put forward a motion to take tasers and pepper spray away from the police and to scrap the Prevent Counter-Terrorism programme.
Do you think the Greens think that's a vote winner?
Well, possibly amongst their voters.
Astonishing.
No.
Take tasers and pepper spray off a police officer when they run into danger for us all the time.
Absolutely. Well, let us know what you think about that and everything else. gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you. The top stories. More than £250,000 has been raised for the families of two police officers who died when a car driving the wrong way on a dual carriageway crashed into their vehicle. 37-year-old PC Matthew Blades and 38-year-old PC Tom Clough died when a Volkswagen travelling the wrong way along the A66 near Middlesbrough collided with their marked police vehicle. PC Clough, a veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, has been described by his family as their hero. The crash also claimed the lives of 5 young men aged between 16 and 23. Social media companies have been told by the government to take down content that celebrates appalling driving following the fatal crash. Defence Minister Luke Pollard spoke to GB News.
It's right that the police have time to investigate what's happened, but I think there's steps that we can take immediately. The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads. It's already illegal to drive down the wrong side of the road in the United Kingdom, and we'll learn the lessons from the police investigation, but we want that content removed online. I think it should be for the social media companies who have often argued that they can police themselves. Well, prove it here. Turn off the algorithm that incentivises and shares this type of illegal content.
Let's take you straight to Westminster now, where Richard Tice is speaking.
Blades and PC Tom Clough, who sadly lost their lives at the weekend. 2 men, 2 brave men, who went to work and never came home. In post-war Britain, Clement Attlee and Nye Bevan built social housing, council houses, on an industrial scale. These were houses for British people, for British workers in post-war Britain. In the 35 years after the Second World War, over 5 million council houses were built. And people like my grandparents, both sets of grandparents, moved into council houses in Ashfield. And they saw it as a privilege, a real privilege, not a right. They looked after their homes. And my grandparents lived in their council houses for over 50 years. In modern day Britain, council housing is issued on need rather than suitability. And this has led to all sorts of social problems, especially in places like Ashfield. A young person in Ashfield, or a young couple in Ashfield, a young working couple, have absolutely no chance of ever securing council housing or social housing in my area. And this is happening all over the country. It's not fair. And the policy that Richard Tice is going to talk about later is about fairness. It's about putting British people first, ahead, at the top of the queue, and that's how it should be. A British government should always look after its own people first. Young people in our country are desperate. Their jobs are being taken away by ridiculous decisions made by that place over there, and they have absolutely no hope, no chance of securing housing in many places in this country. And this policy will make it much easier and much fairer for young people in our country to secure housing. Some of you in this room and some of the left-wing politicians may see this as controversial. It's not controversial. Our policy document, which you've got in front of you, would have been mainstream policy making 30, 40, 50 years ago. We've gone back in time in this country. We are letting our young people down. Young people in Ashfield, there are 6,000, over 6,000 people in Ashfield on the council house waiting list, and they've got absolutely no chance of ever getting their foot on the housing ladder, which means that many young people in our areas are living with their parents till they're in their 30s. This is unfair. They can't move out like I did and buy a house at age 22, 23, and they can't start families. So Reform UK is going to reverse this madness. We're going to put British people first and make sure our young people have that aspiration to get their new house, their social house, their council house, whatever you want to call it, and get their feet firmly on the housing ladder. So I want to introduce a young man now, Mr. Richard Tice, who actually has built more houses over the past 25 years than the previous 24 housing ministers. Richard Tice.
Thank you, Lee, and good morning, everybody. And it's appropriate to be here at the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, an institution that's involved in valuing and telling us the cost of building homes, in order to talk about the crisis in affordable social housing. The reality is that affordable social housing in this country is broken. There is a desperate, desperate shortage. And we've got 1.3 million people on the waiting list. Now, back in the early 1980s, one of my first jobs was digging trenches on a construction site. And in a sense, that's who I am. I'm a builder. And as Lee said, I have built thousands of homes in companies that I've run. And one of the reasons we're in crisis is because those 24 housing ministers this century have had no experience, no idea what they're doing, and it was just a sort of a job for a year or two. And so we've ended up with a desperate shortage of affordable housing, council housing, and it's got worse and worse. And in the document you've got in front of you, there is a graph that shows the complete collapse of the construction of affordable social housing. And our ambition is to stop the rot. We need to turn it round. And so from a construction point of view, we want to build, a Reform government will build, an extra 50,000 affordable social homes every year for a decade. 50,000. That is more than has been achieved for decades. And not only do we know it's the right thing to do, it's the fair thing to do, but it's absolutely essential. And obviously, quite rightly, the next question is, OK, Richard, well, how are you going to pay for it? And there are three separate components to how we would pay for this. It's about £10 billion a year. And this does not involve taxpayer funding, unlike the current government's Affordable Homes programme. There are three mechanisms. The first is to reactivate an attractive right-to-buy housing programme for existing tenants. And we're saying that if someone's lived in a housing association or a council home for 5 years, you'd get a 30% discount. If you've lived in such a home for 10 years, you'd get a 40% discount. This is reactivating what worked really well in the 1980s, as Lee was touching on earlier. The failure back then was that the Conservatives, they didn't reinvest the proceeds back into building more affordable homes. And that's the key difference. Here, we believe that actually this money will go, well, we know it'll go back into building affordable homes at a factor of 2 to 1. So that will be about a third of the total money involved, the total proceeds required. The second third will be by a modest increase in the debt levels, a re-gearing
of the existing housing association. So there's about a whisker under 3 million homes owned by housing associations. The top 100 own about 80% of them. But actually, their debt levels are very low, just over 20% relative to the market value of those properties subject to their existing tenancies. A modest 5 or 6% increase in those debt levels over a decade would generate over £30 billion. And that's the second third of the funding that will be required to meet this programme. And housing associations are well placed to deliver the construction of these homes because actually, in a sense, on a too small a scale, that's what they've been doing to date. They've been distracted a bit recently, but they would be well placed to deliver the bulk of these homes. The final third of how to fund this is through my proposed British Sovereign Wealth Fund, which I talked about first earlier this year, which is the reorganisation of the badly managed, underperforming local government pension schemes. The cumulative value of the LGPS, as at March 26, is £500 billion. By the time of the next general election, if that's as late as 2029, that's likely to be approaching £600 billion. A modest 5% of that, again, would yield some £30 billion, and that would be the final third of the funding of this affordable housing programme. And the combination of that, done in joint ventures, primarily using the housing associations as the delivery mechanism, along with some specialist house builders who focus on affordable housing, that's how we can get these homes built. And I just know that with people who understand construction, who understand how to set up joint ventures, who understand how to do construction finance, we can do this. Some people say it can't be done. We just don't accept that defeatist attitude. We can do it, and we must do it. It's absolutely essential to overcome the crisis we're in. The cost of building homes at the moment is far too high. One of the key reasons for that is the restrictions and obligations and extra costs of net zero on new housing. The cost of a heat pump in a new home is £15,000 more than a good old-fashioned boiler. And there are other significant costs, extra restrictions and regulations on the cost of building new homes that is not necessary and is having a devastating effect on the viability of new home building. House builders, literally week in, week out, they say to me, not only is the problem with the market, Richard, but the cost of new buildings, all of the restrictions, the biodiversity net gains, the nutrient neutrality, it's not helping young British workers, deserving people, get a new home. And we think, that's the most important thing. So, whilst the Labour Party talks a good game about building an affordable homes programme, the reality is they're missing all their targets by a country mile. And the Labour Party, supposedly looking after workers, are actually doing exactly the opposite. They're literally withdrawing from a right to buy programme. They're making it so restrictive, almost nobody will buy. Whereas our plans is to make a right to buy a seriously attractive policy once again. And we know historically that those who buy their own home will invest in it, they will look after it, they will be a great beacon of responsibility and exemplar on their street, in their neighbourhood, and more people will say, yeah, that's the right thing to do. Getting on the ladder, investing in your homes, and we know it works. It was a great success in the 80s and 90s, but the mistake was not building more. This plan is about building, over a decade, another 500,000 affordable social homes. It's the right thing to do. The next question, of course, is, okay, having built them, actually what's the allocation process? Who is sort of first in the queue? And look, in a sense, we'd rather there wasn't a queue at all. But the reality is we've got 1.3 million people in the queue. And we're saying that the first people that one should be looking after are young British workers, under 35, young British married couples, young British veterans who've done the right thing. They've got a job, they're doing their best, working in their community, setting a fine example, because the role of the British government is actually to look after British citizens first. And we think that is the most important. With regard to the existing 540,000 approximately existing affordable social housing that is occupied by overseas nationals, we have clearly set out before that actually we don't think that is fair, and this does come down to fairness. It's not fair that young British working families, couples, individuals, veterans can't get on the housing ladder when overseas nationals have come to the UK and in a sense because of the current rules based on need rather than suitability, they've jumped ahead of the queue. And we just don't think that's right. I can't think of another country in the world where you rock up with a family and you expect the local taxpayer in that country to pay for your housing needs. We're told the whole point of immigration is because we need people to come and work. Well, the clue's in the name work. It wasn't, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you to live here and pay all of your housing needs. It's simply not fair. And that's the key difference. As we talked on our policy that Robert Jenrick announced this time last week, making welfare work, there is a key focus on supporting and helping British workers, whether it's in welfare, whether it's in housing. It's the right thing to do. And that's why we believe in terms of suitability, that's where the focus should be. And of course, as I say, in an ideal world, we build more and there is not a shortage. And I'll be talking next week at our party conference. Small advert for that, tickets still available, do come. On the Thursday, at our business day, I will be launching a significant announcements with regard to planning and rating and an extra focus on brownfield development. And this is all part of making our town centres, regenerating them, rebuilding our brownfield areas that are in crisis states in so many parts of the country. And if we do that right, and if we do this affordable social housing programme, then we can overcome many of the challenges and the problems that young British workers are facing today. And I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, with just repeating this clear point. That so much of the country is struggling, so many people feel that Britain is broken. It is broken, and within that, affordable housing is broken too. We've got the experience, the know-how. We know that reform can fix it, and fix it we must, because the simple fact is affordable social housing needs reform. Thank you very much.
Okay, is this working? Yep. We will now take some questions from the media, and the first one on my list is Susan Hume from the BBC.
Hello, over here.
Hello. Okay.
You talk a lot about British-born workers. Isn't it going to be difficult to distinguish between British-born workers and other British citizens? And doesn't that rather take the power away from local authorities to make the right decisions for their area? And just on another matter, if I might, this dreadful crash on the A66, which you mentioned, do you think social media companies do need to do more to tackle some of the content on their sites?
Yeah, look, Susan, dealing with your first point first, I think it's pretty clear, actually, as I said in my remarks, that the country and local authorities should be focusing on British-born citizens, and we just feel that's the right thing to do. Now, people will disagree with us. That's fine. That's part of a healthy democratic debate. But we've got the courage to say that's where the priorities should start, and it's based on suitability, it's based on setting an example, it's based on being part of your community and and also looking after your homes in the right way. So by British-born workers, it is setting the example, and we think it's the appropriate place to start. And look, some people will say, well, those who are here on indefinite leave to remain, who've been here a long time, we understand that, but we've got a housing crisis. And I just can't think of another country elsewhere where you just rock up and expect the local taxpayer to fund a significant part of your housing. It's just about fairness and about choices, and politics is about choices. Do you want to pick up the point about the crash?
Yeah, incredibly sad news, and happens all too often. And I think you're right, the social media companies have a big role to play in this. We see the TikTok videos, we see people airing their crimes, if you like, on social media. Young men joyriding, committing crimes. We see it far too often, and I think some of the social media companies have got a lot to answer for. They once you click on these videos, it automatically saves your footprint, if you like, and immediately other the same sort of videos crop up when you're scrolling through. So they have got a huge responsibility, social media companies have. They are encouraging, I think, sometimes this sort of behaviour, making it almost fashionable, and it's not. It ends up with horrific consequences. But I'll just touch on what Richard said previously about social housing, council housing. When young British workers, young British people go to work and work hard all week and pay their taxes and think to themselves they will never ever be able to have a council house or have that right to buy like their parents or grandparents had, then that's totally unfair. That's wrong, and we're going to right that wrong. Next one is Keith Bayes, GBNews.
Keith Bayes, GBNews. Under your proposals, what happens to the child of a British soldier born overseas? Would they go to the back of the housing queue? No. More broadly, Labour has said your policy is unserious and unworkable. Is it? And if foreign nationals are to be evicted from social housing, as you previously said, where do you expect them to go? Thank you.
So pick up your first point with regard to British children born overseas. For example, if servicemen, they would be also at the front of the queue, along with young British workers. And sorry, the second part of your question with regard to the Labour Party. I mean, come on, seriously. The reality is, this Labour government, you talk about serious. They've set a big ambitious target. They'll be lucky to get to half of that. And I'm just going to put my track record out there. Yeah. I've built thousands of homes. How many's Angela built? She bought a council house. She made a lot of profit. So there's a massive difference. This is workable, it's doable, and I've shown how it's fundable. And it's set out in the document. And I think this is of a scale and ambition that we haven't seen for many, many years. So in terms of serious, yeah, I'm deadly serious.
Ben Block, Sky News.
Good morning.
Well, that was Richard Tice at an ongoing Reform UK press conference talking about the future of social housing, which, Andrew, is, I think, a really important topic.
I literally didn't answer the question from GB News about the foreign nationals who he's going to kick out of social housing, where they're going to go.
Yeah. Exactly,
because that's a big part of it.
It's true. There are housing pressures across every sector in this country at the moment. Well, let's bring back our panel, former Cabinet Minister Ben Bradshaw and Lawrence Rosenberg, who is a PR specialist. They're still with us in the studio. Ben, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying you're not a Reform UK supporter, but nevertheless, there is this question mark over social housing. Initially, it was built in the millions after the war to help people get a foothold on the start of life, to get a job near to where they lived. Now it's predominantly being used by people on benefits who aren't working or foreign nationals. Do you think that use case is justified?
Well, it's not being predominantly used by foreign nationals. You have to have indefinite...
In some boroughs of London, for example.
You have to have indefinite leave to remain to qualify at all. Asylum seekers and people don't qualify. But having listened to that news conference, I think it's a rather muddled policy because, I mean, he couldn't answer the question about the children of British Armed Service personnel or even diplomats or people who are working, business people who are working abroad, British people who have children abroad or who are working abroad for any particular reason. Would they go back to the bottom of the queue? And on the funding, I mean, the idea that you fund this by selling off council houses and social housing, which is exactly what happened under Thatcher, which has helped us get to this situation, I think is crazy. And the other way he was going to fund it was by burdening local authorities with a whole lot more debt.
Well, allowing them to borrow, which they're currently not allowed to do.
But I mean, as we know, our national debt is at record levels, and a lot of local authorities are finding it very difficult, and some have even gone bust.
Some have gone bankrupt, haven't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, Birmingham, the second big, it's probably the largest local authority in Europe, is bust.
But this would be borrowing against the cost of building housing, which is usually seen as an asset. But Lawrence, although, yes, Richard Tice did talk about the right to buy scheme, he did caveat that by saying that the proceeds from those sales would be used to build new social housing, which, of course, the one thing that Thatcher didn't do.
Yes. I think that's the difficult part. You've got to make sure you're building it as fast as you're getting rid of it. But I think there's also the incentive to get out of it as well. I think, you know, you've got these exchanges that can happen now, and we're seeing it more and more, and it's coming up online, that people have no incentive necessarily to leave, especially if you're living in a part of the country where rent is so exceptionally high and the cost to buy is so high, and you have a subsidised rent, and you can trade upwards. So if you have a larger family, you just wait until someone will trade with you. The whole point of social housing, like you said, after the war, was to get people into the housing market and then hopefully out of social housing.
So you're saying what it should be is a step on the ladder.
Of course it should be.
To get into then you acquire your own property.
Because otherwise the whole country...
commercially rented or you buy it.
Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. It should be a step for people who need a home and don't have one, not an alternative solution of this is where I'm going to stay forever. Why should I bought shared ownership most of my property. Why should I just pay anything? I'll wait until I can get subsidised rent and all of you guys can pay for it.
The problem with that, Andrew, is that in many parts of the country where housing costs are very high, if you're on very low pay, you're never going to get on the housing ladder. So it's the whole of the housing market that's broken. It's not just the social housing side.
I'm just thinking about my mum. She loved her council house. She was in it for 59 years. The first tenants in it, and she left it. It was their last place, but she couldn't have afforded to have bought a place, her and my father. They just couldn't. And that would be applied to a lot of people still, I think.
Yeah, particularly in the high-cost area.
Yeah, absolutely. Lawrence, what's interesting is I think we often talk about social housing in this country as if there isn't anywhere near enough of it, and certainly there isn't enough to meet demand. But when you compare the amount of social housing we have in this country with other European countries, we are right up there in the top. We have 17% of our housing stock is social housing.
Yes.
We are the fourth highest in Europe, and everybody else below that is significantly below that. So what's going on? We have a huge number of social houses, and yet there's still not enough to meet demand.
I think a big part of the problem obviously comes to London. London is so extortionately expensive, and so many of the jobs are here. The focus around London over the past sort of 3 to 4 decades has meant that more people from around the country, often ambitious people, but also migrant communities as well, have been moving into London. And it's impossible, you know, you look at somewhere like Brent, where the amount of social housing is taken up by people who weren't born in this country. It makes it so difficult for young people to get on the housing ladder and also to then access social housing as well. I think it just comes back to, in this country, the incentive problem. We need to incentivise people to actually get on the property ladder themselves, not wait until the government will do it.
I'd also be interested, Miriam, in seeing the figures for people in private rented accommodation who are being subsidised by the taxpayer, because we have high numbers in that category, which I suspect other European countries...
Well, that's a good topic for next time you're on, Ben.
But I also don't know where they're going to place foreign nationals.
Well, exactly. There's just not enough houses, full stop, are there?
Where are they going to go?
Well, thank you very much to our panel, Ben Bradshaw and Lawrence Rosenberg. Fantastic discussion.
First time for us, Lawrence.
Yes, thank you. And I hope you'll have me back again.
We certainly will.
Of course we will. Great.
I always enjoyed to see Ben, even if he's Labour.
Absolutely. Well, plenty more is coming up at midday, but up next, Britain's Newsroom, 2 senior Labour figures have said that the taxpayer should fund Harry and Meghan's security. Find out who.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Good
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A fine start to the week. Rain is on the way for the end of the week and into the bank holiday. But it is going to start to feel warmer, a little bit more humid overnight as well. So we start to pick more of a southerly wind direction through this afternoon and into Tuesday. High pressure's still in charge though. So after a dry weekend, there'll be more in the way of sunshine through today. Plenty of dry weather as well. Still an easterly wind across the south coast, so a bit breezy across more southern areas of England, but parts of Northern Ireland, Scotland seeing plenty of warm sunshine through today with long-lived clear spells. And it will feel very warm, temperatures in the mid-20s quite widely across England and Wales, in the low 20s further north. Just where we're close to the east coast, it will feel a little bit fresher than that with an onshore breeze. But for most of us, it's going to be a fine end to the day. It was a chilly night last night. It will probably be a bit of a chilly night tonight as well. Though still through this evening, temperatures in the high teens, low 20s. Plenty of sunshine, probably quite a nice sunset as well to end the day this evening. So we look further south into England and Wales, plenty more dry weather around. You can see some rain down to the south affecting the Channel Islands, and we'll start to see the impacts of that as we head into Tuesday evening. But before then, a clear and dry night to come for much of the UK. Where this easterly wind drags in more moisture from the North Sea, we could see a little bit of rain and drizzle across northeastern coasts of England, some eastern coasts of Scotland overnight. A bit more cloud in these areas overnight, so a bit of a murky start here, but for most of us a clear night and a clear start to the day. Temperatures in the mid-teens to start the day in many towns and cities, so not too bad at all, a little bit warmer than it was over the weekend. Through Tuesday afternoon, there's a chance of showers across more southwestern areas, parts of Cornwall, southwest Wales. Could see the odd shower across parts of Scotland, but for most of us, it is going to be another dry day. And in the best of the sunshine, temperatures will actually climb a little bit higher tomorrow, up to 27. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It is 11:33. It is Britain's Newsroom, and this is Andrew and Miriam.
Well, Prince Harry and Meghan are returning to the UK.
Miriam's favourite story.
Correct.
She said last week, I don't care, I'm not interested. I said, you're going to have to get interested because it ain't going away any time.
Well, no, I don't think it is going away. And
every Sunday paper on every front page, every Saturday paper is on every front page. It's dominating the news bulletins because
I shall start reading the Financial Times in that case.
I think probably even they mentioned it.
Probably true. Let's have a look. We've got it here.
Yeah,
well, they are
somewhere.
back in the news today because the question is who is going to pay for their security. It's not on the front page of the Financial Times. Right, I'm getting a subscription. But who's going to foot the bill for their security? Will it be the taxpayer? Will it be privately funded? As it stands, they might have to fund their own security. But we have Cameron Walker here with us. You were explaining earlier on that it's not actually as straightforward as just money. There are security intelligence implications to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened last month was what we call a risk management board, and there's an independent assessment of the level of threat against an individual, in this case, Harry and Meghan. This is the first time it's happened since 2019, and those findings have been presented to a Home Office committee, which is called RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, made up of intelligence officials, the Home Office, the governments, the police and the royal household. Collectively, they then decide how much taxpayer-funded police protection an individual is entitled to get based solely on the level of risk against them. Now, we don't know the answer to what the Risk Management Board said. We don't know if RAVEC has made their decision yet. But the question is, will the taxpayer therefore have to foot the bill if there is a credible threat against them? Now, I would argue that the British public, well, and most of them, would be quite annoyed if they're having to fund non-working royal security. Yeah. However, Harry, even if he was the richest man in the world, wouldn't be allowed to pay for his own Metropolitan Police protection, because he tried that a couple of years ago when he was suing His Majesty's government in His Majesty's courtroom, which obviously put the King in a constitutionally difficult position, but that's by the by. A High Court judge ruled that you cannot pay for police protection. The police are effectively not to hire, because it would set such a dangerous precedent if anyone with enough money could effectively hire their own private bodyguards from the Metropolitan Police. So that's why he's not allowed to fund it. The other option, of course, is that he just continues as he has done for the last few years on an ad hoc basis, funds his own private security, which he brings across from him into the United States to keep himself safe. The only issue with that is that they cannot carry firearms and don't have access to that intelligence.
But we do know, Cameron, if he's in a royal context, he will be protected in the same way other members of the royal family are.
Yeah, absolutely. If he is within a royal palace, if he is also attending an official royal event, he will be protected like any other member of the royal family. We know he's not going to be staying within a royal residence. He's not living in a royal residence, and therefore whatever private property, wherever it is, I mean, we can speculate if it's Cotswolds or Northamptonshire or wherever, that would not be protected by the Metropolitan Police. They would either have to fund that themselves, or the Ravet Committee decides that they are entitled to that protection.
And will we be told if the public purse is involved?
Well, do you know what? I think the government are going to try their absolute hardest not to tell us. The government, the Prime Minister's already said it's a private matter. Yeah. I would argue Prime Minister it's in the public interest.
When he said it, I winced. I don't think it is, mate. If we're paying our taxes for it, how is that private?
Well, I think that was the government's default position whenever they're asked an uncomfortable question about a member of the royal family is essentially no comments. The Home Office has been giving us the same line for at least a year now. They haven't even changed the wording of their official statements. They're going to try their hardest not to tell us, but it is in the public interest, I would argue, Prime Minister, if British taxpayers are being asked to fund non-working royal security, the public have a right to know that.
I think they do. I think they do.
Do you think, though, that there is a real grey area here? Because this distinction, non-working royal, is a very recent idea, and actually what makes you a royal is your bloodline. I mean, that's how it's worked for thousands and thousands of years, and whether Harry chooses to work as a royal ever again, he is still the second son of the king, and he will always attract a level of risk regardless of what he does or doesn't do.
And that is what the Risk Management Board would have presumably taken into account. He is still fifth in line to the throne. His children are still in the line of succession as well. He served 2 tours of Afghanistan, and he is the brother of the future king. Regardless of the fact whether he contributes anything tangibly to the British state, he is still, as you say, Miriam, a member of the royal family. So we'll just have to wait and see what the government decide.
And just, you've mentioned brother of the future king. The future king, the silence from Kensington Palace is deafening.
Yeah, so...
Not a word from Prince William or Princess Kate.
No, and that has been their default position ever since Megxit, really. They even kept a dignified silence when Harry was accusing Prince William of all sorts. And do you know what? It worked, because the opinion polls consistently show that the Prince and Princess of Wales are on top in terms of public opinion. The Prince and Princess of Wales currently in Balmoral with the King. I'm sure that the Harry issue would have been mentioned. Very interesting yesterday, on Sunday morning, a huge united front of a convoy of cards of all members of the royal family driving from Balmoral to Crathy Kirk Church for the church service. You don't usually see that many royals in a convoy when they know there's going to be cameras about.
They're praying hard.
Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and
we had Lady Louise. We had who else? We had Prince and Princess of Wales, King, Queen, the 3 kids, George, Charlotte, Louis. Who else was there? I think we had Edward and Sophie too. So lots of them.
Amazing.
All up together.
I'm going to get together.
Quite a statement, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're going to be busy, Cameron, that's all I can say. Busier than ever.
And you're going to be thrilled with it, Miriam.
Well, I always enjoy listening to Cameron. It's certain tabloids that I don't particularly enjoy. Well, plenty left to come, but a Home Office spokesperson said the UK government's protective security system is rigorous and proportionate. It's our long-standing policy not to provide detailed information on these arrangements.
Yeah, I suspect just before you go, Cameron, Prince Andrew will be interesting about this, because he has no security as such, and he lives pretty much on his own in Sandringham, and some people might think he could be a target.
Well, he already has allegedly been a target, and he's due to give evidence in an active court case later this year. So it does happen. He doesn't have Metropolitan Police protection either.
No, exactly.
Well, coming up next, the Green Party put forward a motion to take tasers and pepper spray away from the police and to scrap the Prevent Counter-Terrorism programme.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of our top European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It remains quite unsettled across northern and western parts of Europe. Some heavy rain across parts of Portugal and Spain in particular. Plenty of sunny spells across the Canaries on Tuesday. Temperatures around 30 Celsius. The risk of showers still for Portugal, parts of France, but Spain largely dry with sunshine. A few showers also stretching across into northern Italy. Hot in Rome, temperatures in the mid-30s. Plenty of sunshine and high temperatures across Greece as well, staying that way over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I might shock you because I do understand why there are people that perhaps will need to take this because of medical issues. I get that, urgent medical issues. But let's face it, this is actually the greedy goods pill. That's what this is. Do I think it will make people lazy in society? Common sense, of course it will. We all want the magic pill. The concern, of course, with the pill, I'm sure the pharmacists will agree, is the potential side effects of these pills. We need to take personal responsibility in the UK, and at the moment, when it comes to health and many other things, we don't.
Thorin, I could see you shaking your head a little bit there. What do you think?
Well, look, it's not a magic pill. It's a medical intervention for a complex condition. I think calling people lazy is just an easy thing to do because it assumes that people who are struggling with weight just need more motivation.
The People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm thrilled to say now I'm joined by another World War II veteran.
In my judgment, the Mosquito was a better aircraft because it's got 2 Spitfire engines.
And you flew it all over Europe. You told me that you had a particularly memorable flight near Berlin. What happened there?
A shell came up underneath, it lifted up the aircraft and it interfered for a brief period with the fuel supply. I didn't know. All I knew was I'd got the propellers were windmilling around and we hadn't any power. And eventually the power came on again. And I leaned across to Doug, my navigator. He was a Canadian, a wonderful bloke. And I said to him, you weren't frightened, were you, Doug? And he said, no, I wasn't frightened, I was bloody terrified.
GB News.
We're only here for like 12 hours. We're flying home at 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh. And mummy and daughter.
Yeah, and it only costs £70, so we thought, well, why not? Because it's cheaper than a supermarket shop.
Supermarket shop or spending the day in Benidorm with cheap booze.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer.
And is there no chance you might just decide we're going to stay?
No, because my husband would kill me.
We did consider it because I said to my mum earlier on, we might just stay and miss the flight, but she's not up for it.
Has your husband actually visited Benidorm his own?
No, he hasn't. I've been here 27 times. That's my daughter's first time. She's a Benidorm virgin. But
well,
my husband's never been.
Not that he's told you anyway, let's put it like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, only 1,500 men across the UK will be eligible for prostate cancer screening under the NHS. That's despite an estimated 13,000 men in Britain who are believed to be carrying a cancer-causing variant.
The programme is due to begin next year, and experts warn the policy will put thousands of men, particularly middle-aged men, at a higher risk of this, what they call invisible disease.
Well, joining us now is Natalia Narori, Head of Data and Evidence at Prostate Cancer UK. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. What do you make of this latest data? It's only a tiny proportion of at-risk men who are going to be screened.
Good morning. It is indeed concerning that most men who have the BRCA2 variant do not know about it. And this is because for decades, genetic testing has been focused on women, where the evidence around cancer risk and mitigation has been much clearer. So there clearly needs to be an awareness campaign to make sure that men that have the BRCA2 variant and would be eligible for prostate cancer screening know that they could have access to prostate cancer screening.
But are there not arguments that for prostate cancer screening in particular, the risk of false positives from blood tests, for example, is just too high to make a more widespread screening programme feasible?
That is correct. So the UK National Screening Committee reviewed the evidence around prostate cancer screening extensively, and they concluded that screening would be beneficial only for men that have the BRCA2 variant and a family history of prostate cancer that are between the age brackets between 45 and 61. So that means that this is the specific group of men that will really benefit on knowing their BRCA2 genetic status. And we need to make sure that men have access to genetic testing to ensure that they have the clear information they need to access screening. We are waiting for more evidence for other groups, so other high-risk groups that could in the future benefit from prostate cancer screening, but at the moment that evidence is unclear.
And just to be clear, Natalia, if somebody like me perhaps went to my GP for what I would call my annual MOT, could I not say to him or her, I'd like to have a prostate check? Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a blood test.
So prostate cancer, the PSA test, which is the first step to diagnose prostate cancer, is not routinely offered on the NHS.
Right.
But the policy around prostate cancer testing has not changed at all. The Department of Health has confirmed that if men have concerns around prostate cancer, they could mention these concerns to their GPs, who will help them make an informed choice about whether the PSA test is right for them or not. Prostate Cancer UK also has our online risk checker. So our risk checker provides information about prostate cancer risk factors and the pros and cons of the PSA test to support men in making an informed choice. And if men have concerns about this, they can just search prostate cancer risk checker on their favorite search engine, and this will take it to them.
Because we do know, don't we, that if it's caught early, it can be cured and treated successfully, and the problem with some people, it's found far too late, Natalia.
The earlier you find prostate cancer, the easier it is to treat, which is why it's so important for men to be aware of the risk and the actions that they can take about it, which is why we have created our online risk checker that can help provide all of this information. But also, GPs are there for support and provide information about pros and cons as well.
Now, Natalia, can you explain to our viewers the difference in risk between being diagnosed when you're a relatively young man in your 50s, let's say, or early 60s, or to those who are diagnosed much later in life in old age?
So the risk of prostate cancer, it increases if you have a family history of prostate cancer. So that is a dad or a brother that has had it. And it also increases if you're Black. So if you're a Black man, your risk is 1 in 4 when compared to 1 in 8 for other men. And Black men also have twice the risk of dying. So these are the specific risk factors. Of course, prostate cancer is also more common as men get older. But then there are other factors that can really influence whether the PSA test is right for them or not, which is why it's so important to get access to the right health information so that they can make an informed choice.
Natalia Narori, who is the head of data and evidence at Prostate Cancer UK, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Now we have a statement here from the Department of Health and Social Care which says
the government is committed to improving outcomes for all men with prostate cancer, and NHS advice remains that any man with prostate cancer symptoms should get checked. We have accepted the independent expert UK National Screening Committee's recommendations to introduce England's first targeted prostate cancer screening programme for men with the BRCA2 gene variant and a family history of certain cancers.
Now, this is astonishing. A motion drawn up by the Green Party's Crime and Justice Working Group is calling for the party to pledge to, get this, withdraw lethal tools and tactics, i.e. tasers and pepper spray, from the police, and we should also reduce reliance on the police with the aim of eliminating this reliance. So effectively, we want to get rid of the police. What insanity.
Indeed.
And this is a party that purports to be ready for government.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Well, it'd be very easy to govern if you didn't have a police force. Well, the motion also suggests that the PREVENT programme should be scrapped. Of course, that's the counter-terrorism programme that's focused on detecting and intervening in instances where an individual is seen to be at risk of being radicalised.
I mean, loony.
Yeah, it is a charter for anarchy, Andrew.
It absolutely is. And I think our police officers do an incredibly brave job. We've been reading the papers today about the 2 police officers killed at the weekend, just going about their job. But to take tasers off them and pepper spray, when sometimes that's the only weapon they've got against possibly a machete-wielding lunatic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's extraordinary.
I mean, it is just...
And not all police officers have tasers anyway. It's down to respective chief constables. Yeah. Some forces don't have them. I think it should be compulsory for every police officer, actually. And pepper spray.
I know. I mean, our police are extraordinarily reserved when it comes to using force compared to in other countries. They're not armed with weapons, are they? But it's just this crazy luxury belief thinking that some on the far left have, that violence is wrong and therefore there should never be any use of violence. Well, violence should be a last resort, of course, but the state, the police, must reserve the right to use force if necessary in order to keep people safe.
So these Greens clearly just don't trust the police, don't like the police, and they want us to reduce our reliance on the police to the point of not using them at all.
I think they're a bit outdated because, of course, defund the police was the cry of in the wake of the George Floyd death and all the Black Lives Matter protests. But I think most people, even on the left, have woken up since then and realised that without...
I just think as well that those people who think the Greens are nice and cuddly, they want to save polar bears and they want to save the planets, and they want to hug the tree, they're actually dangerous.
Well, I think they should get down to London Zoo and take part in the weighing.
Yeah.
That would be something very positive to do with their environmental credentials.
Yeah, they are dangerous people.
Defund the Green Party, how about that?
I suspect the motion won't get carried, but the mere fact... There was one last week which was bonkers on Israel too.
Yeah. Well, we mock, but you were looking up earlier how many members the Green...
220,000 members. I wonder how many of them know what sort of lunacy their party's getting up to.
About 2.5 times the number of Conservative members, for example. Sure. So plenty of people...
Now, it's a statement from the Green Party, which Miriam's looking forward to reading.
Can't wait. Conference is still weeks away and members have only just begun submitting motions. There is a prioritisation process. Not every motion submitted will be debated. Only motions passed by conference become Green Party police. So it is not official party policy at all.
It's not.
Someone proposed it.
Yeah, but the mere mindset that could propose that.
Indeed. Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. We'll leave you in the capable hands of Mark and Emily, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.
See you then.
Well, yes, coming up, should British-born young families with children be right at the top of the list for social housing? That's the proposal from Reform UK.
And as tributes continue to come in for the 2 Cleveland police officers killed in that horrific road crash, we'll be paying tribute to some of the other officers who have died in the line of duty over the past 5 decades.
We absolutely will do. So stick with us on the show. It's me, Emily Carver, and Mark White with you until 3 o'clock.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to your latest GB News weather. High pressure still in charge of our weather today. Plenty of dry weather and pleasant spells of sunshine as well. Bit of a fresh start in places this morning, some mist and fog patches, but they'll soon clear and then a fine day to come. The cloud will bubble up as we move through the day, particularly into the afternoon across eastern areas, perhaps thick enough for 1 or 2 showers, but the vast majority it will be dry and bright. A much sunnier day for western parts, particularly Northern Ireland, where it's quite cloudy over the weekend. Temperatures rising into the low 20s, 24, 25 Celsius possible. A little cooler in the east with that easterly breeze. As we look at the details for the evening time, fine end today across Scotland, plenty of sunny spells, temperatures still in the low 20s come 5-6 p.m. Plenty of sunshine as well for Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England. Still some cloud, but this will start to melt away as we move through the evening time. 1 or 2 light showers perhaps towards Lincolnshire and the Wash into East Anglia. A bit of an easterly breeze, just making it feel a little cooler here. And then perhaps perhaps an increasing chance of some showers moving in across the far south as we head through the latter part of the evening into the early hours. Some of this could turn heavy as it pushes towards the south coast. A bit of uncertainty how quickly this will push northwards. More cloud around overall means temperatures not quite as low tonight compared to the weekend, generally staying in double figures, some low cloud and fog to start the day. But on Tuesday, a bright start in the north, cloudy in the south, the increasing risk of some showers pushing northwards. These perhaps turning a little heavy and thundery later on. 1 or 2 showers starting to develop parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later. And a bit of an easterly breeze still means the east is cooler, but the west temperatures 24, 25, starting to feel more humid too.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway of the year so far.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this brand new McClure Fusion could be yours. We'll also boost your bank account too with a further £35,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like.
For a chance to win, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB23 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 23rd of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News.
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew with me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Monday, the 24th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Mark White.
A reform government will build an extra 50,000 affordable social homes every year for a decade. 50,000. That is more than has been achieved for decades.
To the top of the social
British-born married couples under 35 with children will be bumped to the top of the social housing list under new plans announced by Reform UK today, should foreign nationals be completely banned from social housing.
The two police officers who died when a car travelling the wrong way down a dual carriageway crashed into their vehicle are hailed as heroes by their families.
Yes, a flurry of reports have linked the crash to the dangerous TikTok joyriding trend after two eerily similar crashes in just 1 week. Is it time to change the law to stop another tragedy unfolding?
The government has already spoken to the social media companies, telling them to take down that horrendous content that you rightly say is celebrating dangerous driving on our roads.
The Green Party has put forward a motion to take tasers and pepper spray away from frontline police and to scrap the Prevent Counter-Terrorism programme.
Prime Minister Andy Burnham has arrived in Kyiv, marking his first foreign trip since moving into number 10, but he's already garnering some criticism after rocking up without a suit, sporting a quarter zip instead.
The cost of a Sunday roast has soared, by 50% in just 5 years, with fish and chips, kebabs and pub meals also up as well.
The tickets were very expensive, and we get on thinking we'd get pajamas with the flagship service, and you apparently only give them to the first 2 rows in business class flagship service. What's that all about?
Yes, the actor John Barrowman has sparked controversy for complaining about not getting a set of complimentary pyjamas on his business class flight. Is he embarrassingly out of touch, or is he actually spotting